نادي عليا مظهر العجائب.
But we'll keep going, inshallah. Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا مولانا حبيب الله العالمين أبو القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعنة الله للقوم الظالمين من الأولين والآخرين. أما بعد. Assalamu alaikum to everyone here. Inshallah, you guys are all keeping in the best of health. Welcome back to the Nahjal Balagha book club. This is the 9th. So next week is our last book club, and it's going to be a very special one. I'm going to come to why that is later. But any time that we spend together, I think is super special. So let me begin by also wishing a Eid Ghadir Mubarak in advance. What I want to talk to you today is somewhat linked to Ghadir. And then we're going to go through and look at 5 last sayings of Nahjal Balagha that we're going to do in this book club. We're not looking at any new sayings next week. So the 5 last ones is in the next is basically today. No worries if you didn't get to do the mission that you had, it's fine. It was optional. And then inshallah, I'll explain to you what's happening for the following week. So before we get there though, let me check in and see how everyone is doing. Fazil, you've said you've not got your mission, that's fine. But firstly, Assalamu alaikum, how are you doing?
I am good, alhamdulillah. Wa alaikum assalam.
Are you keeping well? Is everything okay with you at home? Are you okay, mashallah?
Yes, I just came back from the park right now.
Oh, well, welcome back. Thank you for signing in. No worries if you had not done the mission, but it's very good to have you. Is anything, I don't know, on your mind that you'd like to share, or anything that you want to mention, or you just want to catch your breath and get back to being indoors, right?
Not really. I don't really have anything to mention.
No worries at all. You just stay.
The only thing I have got is that in maths, I'm moving to geometry.
You're moving to geometrics?
Yes.
That's
First,
cool.
I've done area and perimeter. Now I'm on geometry.
Firstly, well done. That's great. Secondly, I don't remember if anyone there who's currently doing the geometrics or has done geometrics. Anyone else? Oh, Fazil, you are the trailblazer. You are the one in the front. So good luck with it, inshallah.
I've also got a geometry case just to help me with my maths.
I think it's good. I think it's good to for your development, just keep going. You know, geometrics is like shapes and stuff, right?
Not exactly. It's like angles and.
Ah, okay. Yeah. The angles and shapes. Good. Do you have a protractor?
Yes, I've got a protractor.
Do you have a? That's the main thing, isn't it? Do you have one of those 360-degree ones which spin around, or do you have like a semicircle one?
What does that mean? I don't really understand because I'm just starting geometry.
Okay, well, look, good luck on your journey, inshallah, and I hope you enjoy all of the cool tools and equipment you get in doing geometrics. Amina, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
How are you keeping? How are you doing?
I'm doing really good, Alak Shukr. And you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good. I'm doing, thank you. How have your day trips been?
Yeah, it's been really nice. It's kind of like a change of scenery from normally being at home and then going back to school, obviously.
Yeah, you guys are going all over the place, mashallah. That's good that you get to go out and about and enjoy the weather, such as it is, the time that we have. So, great. And you're keeping well, yeah?
Yeah, I'm doing well.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. I said, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
I said, what's happening with you, young man?
Nothing much. I found a new game on my Nintendo. It's called Pokemon Unite.
Pokemon Unite. I never played Unite before. How's it different to the other
no,
one?
it's just a new game. It's just got released like 3 days ago. You wouldn't have heard of it.
That's probably why I've not got it. Amazing. Well, good luck with it, inshallah. Is it hard? Are you doing okay with it?
I think, have you heard of League of Legends? It's something like that, but much easier.
That's cool. That's cool. Have you got friends who are playing it too? That's always a really important part.
Yeah, one of my friends is playing it as well.
Good, mashallah. Well, keep it up. Destroy all the bad guys. Don't hurt any of the good guys. You know how it is.
Yep.
Speaking of good guys, Ashal, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
What is happening up north, bro? What's the latest?
It's very hot, and I've got both my fans on right now.
You got both your fans on?
Yeah.
Both both your fans, that's twice as hot as it should be. Goodness me. Asta's written that it's on Nintendo Switch and Sword. Okay, good. Well, I should make sure. I don't know. Do you have sun cream? Are you wearing a cap when you go out? Are you doing like good self-care in the heat?
I mean, yeah, I'm wearing a hat, but I don't wear sunscreen.
Well, look, if the temperature goes above 30, like it's going to, you get that sunscreen on, okay?
Okay,
You have to make sure you don't get sunburnt or nothing like that.
all right.
When I come Bradford, I don't want you to be like, "Hi, Islam Basfai," and just covered in like sunburnt. None of that, please. I want you to be safe, inshallah.
Okay.
Very good. Then we have Khadija, who I checked before. I check in again. Khadija, what is the latest with you? Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
You've been going to loads of cool places, but I want to know, what is your favorite?
Well, in Bath, we went to the beach like in the evening time when it was when the sun was setting, and that was really nice to see.
That is
It
cool.
was, it was also reflecting in the water, so it was really cool.
Well, that time at night is a really nice time just to reflect and think about how your day's been and how you're doing, and it's very healthy. So I'm glad you made that time out for yourself, you know. But that means when you get home, it's super, super late, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. But you weren't driving, so you know, it's fine.
yeah.
All right. Well, that's great. So good to have you here as always. And finally, Masma, assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Masma, what's the latest with you? How you doing?
I'm good. We've been going to loads of places. A while ago, we went to the beach with our cousin, and we threw seaweed on each other, and we had lots of fun. Also, to Eid party. I don't remember which Eid it was.
Eid al-Adha
But
probably.
made a Kahoot, and we all sat down and did Kahoot, and then it was quite fun.
Nice. Nice. And if you're good at cahoots, I think you'd like what's coming up next week. But I'm not gonna. Hey, I didn't say anything. We're not there yet. But good. And Asad and Masma, are you guys taking good care of each other as well? Are you being
Yep.
good?
Yep.
Very good. All right then. In that case, let us get into the content for today. Oh, I see. Khadija, yeah, I missed that party, unfortunately. But I'm sure you guys enjoyed it anyway. Now, we're looking at a very important mission for those of you who had a chance to do it, which was related to the two things the Holy Prophet leaves behind, which are the Quran and the Ahlul Bayt. And my mission was, if the Prophet has said, as he has said, that I'm leaving behind for you two things, stay close to them. They're going to protect you. They are this book and my family. My question was, what happens when you split them? What happens when you only follow one and not the other? Or if you don't follow either of them, or you don't link them anymore? What happens in history and people started to forget these two things were linked? So raise your hand if you had a chance to think about this issue. Thank you so much already. If you had time to think and do some research and think about what would be the implications of that. And if right now you have like ideas, then now's a great time to share any new ideas as well. But since I see some hand raised, I'll go to them. Firstly, to Amina. Amina, what do you think is the problem if these two things are split?
So we wouldn't be able to truly appreciate or understand the beauty of the Quran or even the beauty of the Ahl al-Bayt if we didn't have or follow one or the other, because it's the same as, for example, if you gave a book to a child to learn from without giving them a teacher who already knows everything and is trustworthy to teach it, then the child couldn't understand what is in it. And so there was a saying from the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and he said, as the stars in the sky are the source of guidance to the travelers, the holy ones of my Ahlul Bayt are the source of guidance for the people. And so the Ahlul Bayt are the best teachers for us, and their status is so high that we wouldn't be able to follow Islam in the way we would.
That's such a beautiful point. Such a beautiful point. That firstly, like you said, you need someone to explain the Quran or explain what's going on around you. You need someone to actually be a teacher for you. And here, Ahlul Bayt were like you said, like stars shining in your path, which means that without them, it's dark. Without them, you don't really know where you're going. And with them, you have some guidance. That's beautiful. And that's a lovely hadith. Like, is that something which you knew before or you found out like in your research?
I found that in my research.
That's a really nice, beautiful hadith, mashallah. Ahl Bayt are like the stars that light your way. That's beautiful. Khadija, now I'm sure you were not copying on your sister's work and you've got your own mission that you've done. What do you think? What happens when we don't give respect to Ahl Bayt and the Quran together?
Well, I think that if there was only Quran and no Ahlul Bayt, as Amna said, there would be no Ahlul Bayt to pass down knowledge and like gently push the communities into, reading and understanding the Quran,
Yeah.
as well as the explaining point of view. And then also, if there was only Ahlul Bayt and no Quran, there would be no. I mean, I know that their sources of this are very reliable, but without the Quran, there wouldn't be a physical copy to show them that this is proof that everything that I'm saying to you is true. And without one of them, everything just collapses. It's like a balance scale.
Mm.
If one of them sort of tips over to the side, then it just goes all haywire.
That's a very good metaphor because, and Ahl Bayt being known as the balance or as Mizan is a very common idea, because sometimes you might be following one idea too much or another idea too much and falling into different extremes, either doing too much something or not enough of something else, or you're getting misguided. And there needs to be something in the middle to kind of hold it together or to keep balance in those things. And Deen is about balance. And Ali Islam says that we, or I am the pivot. I am the central pivot of this faith. I am like the axe in relation to the hand mill, because in those days, the mill which would turn would have like an axe in the middle, right? And he says, I'm that middle part that things are spinning around, but I stay firm and still. And that's Ahlul Bayt. That's Ahlul Bayt. When there's chaos and change and difficulty, they are the ones who time and time again explain to us and keep us stable, keep us healthy. So the you guys have combined, the Burgrami sisters have combined to make a very beautiful picture for us of how important Ahlul Bayt are to us. Anyone else listening wants to add anything before I explain some points? So as many of you know, it's Ghadir, which is coming up, right? The event of Ghadir. And that's where the Prophet says this famous sentence, okay? Khadija, I'll come to you after I mention this, where he says that, what actually happens is he leaves after the final Hajj, and he goes to a place far, like outside of Mecca, and not in Medina, its own special place. He gathers everyone. There are thousands of people. And he says, I've got something very important to say. And they come together and they build for him through the saddles of the camels a place for him to mount and stand. And he climbs up there. And the hadith say that he could be seen further away on top of these saddles. They could see the outline and the voice of the Prophet. Some hadith even say there are people who are repeating everything he's saying, so those at the back could hear every single word. And so you must be wondering, if you're in that crowd, what is so important, what is so special that we have taken a detour from Hajj to go back home to mention something very special. And he stands and he says that Allah is the Wali over you. Allah is the Lord over you, the Master over you. And I am the Prophet who has authority over you for Allah. And he says, for whoever considers me to be their Mawla, their master, Ali is their master. And he raises the hands of Imam Ali alayhi salam high and tall, so everyone can see exactly whose hands he's raising. And he continues and explains to them that after he dies, after he leaves this world, the Imam, the leader for them, is Imam Ali alayhi salam. And then all of you know that famous hadith way of Thaqalain, which comes up later, but is also known at this time, that I leave behind for you two weighty things of equal weight, Quran and Ahlul Bayt. And then he goes on and says that these two things will remain together until they meet me at the pool of Kawthar, which is a special pool of water in Jannah, meaning the whole rest of the time on this earth, these two things must be together. And here's the point which both of you mentioned, it's a balance. They're both of the same weight, which means if you take one away, you are tipping the balance in such a way that it's skewed. It's off balance. You will not understand the truth. And if you abandon one and only focus on one only, you're neglecting an entire other half of it. So you can't read Quran and not consider the role of Ahlul Bayt to explain and to demonstrate these points, because what happens then you have Karbala, where there are people fighting against Imam al-Hussein who have read Quran more than any of us have, who know it off by heart, who can quote verses at you left, right, and center, some of whom may have been even there or present at times when verses were revealed, and yet because they took away Ahlul Bayt from the Quran, they're now fighting against Imam al-Hussein. And similarly, you might find examples in our community or in other communities where we have so much love for Ahlul Bayt, but we're not always doing the right thing. And that's because sometimes we have not listened to Ahlul Bayt when they said, if you want to know the rules or the law or how to pray and these things, go to Quran. We think that the Ahlul Bayt are the end, but really Ahlul Bayt are part of the process. They are part of the journey where they take us to Allah and they take us towards Allah with the Quran. It's a process and they're all part of it and they all have a role to play. But we forget that sometimes, and it's true, and it's unfortunate. But like we mentioned, it keeps balance and stability to keep these two equal weighty things together. In the same way, you don't dislodge one balance from the counterweight of another. Okay. Anyone want to make a question or make a point about Ghadir and about the importance of Ahlul Bayt in the Quran? Khadija, your hands raised. Is it raised for the new point or the previous points?
For the previous point, but
No.
I think Masuma wanted to say something about it.
Masuma, I don't need to make a point, but
I think she said in the chat.
I don't need to make a point, but I can't raise my hand. Well, then what's the problem? Masma, you can use the chat if you wish to explain what your point is.
Okay.
Did you have a point you wanted to make, Masma? Oh, no, okay, that's fine. Okay, well, in that case,
I just wanted to say, when we're doing the actual debate thing, how because I can't raise my hand, so should I just write something in the chat? Like, should I just write raise hand in the chat
so you can talk but not raise your hand, right?
so that I can just raise my hand so that you know that I have a point, and then
Yeah, you can write in the chat if you feel comfortable, but also when I'm going through the sayings, I'll just say, does anyone else want to make a point? And that's when you can easily raise your hand. Or not raise your hand, so you can just unmute. In fact, if you just unmute, I'll see it and I'll know that you've got a point you wish to make.
okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
no problem at all. Okay. So that's the importance of Ghadir. So inshallah tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, whenever it is the Jashan of Ghadir in your communities, make sure you are thinking of the importance of keeping balanced and healthy in your faith, inshallah. However, we are now moving on to the final 5 sayings which we're looking at of Nahjal Balagha in this book club. As always, can someone write something in the chat, please, just so I can see it? Someone write something? Oh, hello, Amina. Thank you, Amina. Good. I actually need that to see sometimes. That goes there. That goes there. So this is our 9th session. And alhamdulillah, it is 5 more sayings of Nahjal Balagha. Now, interestingly, in selecting the sayings, I've only gone through like half of all of the sayings available. So we could do this and of those half, I've only selected so like 5 each time, 5 times 9, 45 from about 150. And similarly, there are about 150 even more and one. There's so much wisdom to look at for the Imam. But here are 5 more. Here we go. How do you feel after eating a big meal? Who can describe that feeling after you had a really massive meal? How do you feel? Khadija?
I feel a bit sick and it's a bit too
That's
much, and it's not good for you because your body is made to contain just a middle-ish portion, not too little, not too much.
exactly. Exactly. And sometimes not too much is obviously you're still hungry, but if you have too much, it's like you feel sick, right? Masma, I did see your hand. I see you unmuted as well.
Well, if you were very, very hungry before and your tummy was practically empty, then you'll just feel fine. But if you were like, like, you were not sure whether you were hungry or full, and then you had a massive meal, then you probably like have to breathe in very, very, very deeply, and then your tummy will feel tight and stuff.
That is true. That is true. But hold on a second. Hold your horses. You know, in month of Ramadan, Shahr Ramadan, when we're hungry all day, when we actually eat, if you remember that feeling, you don't even eat loads and loads and loads and loads. Sometimes you eat just a little bit and you get full very quickly. Am I right?
Yeah.
So even when we're really hungry, we don't even want to have like a big, 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 big meal even then, because like your body just it doesn't work sometimes to have too much in one go, which is the point I'm trying to make. Fazil, how is that feeling like when you just eat too much?
Once I had eaten too much, I started feeling like vomiting once I ate. Like the next morsel that was after I was full, I didn't even realize I was full. And then I started feeling like as if my body is saying that, stop it, don't eat anymore. I am full now.
And did you
And
listen to your body?
Yes, I listened to my body, but then afterwards, the body was sending a new message that, oh, don't eat this, don't eat too much. And then I started feeling sick the next day.
Right, so your body sends you
After I've
signals.
eaten. I don't know. But what I thought in my head is that as if you're coming close to Allah, because when you are, but I'm talking about when you get ill, because
Yeah.
Allah forgives all of your sins when you I mean, not all of your sins, but yeah, He forgives the sin when you're ill. But apart from when you're eating a big meal, I think you're just basically departing from Allah by eating a big meal, which will make you sick.
Or you think because Allah would not want you to indulge like that?
Yeah, because it's makruh to eat a big meal.
This happened. It was one of the prophets. Was it either Prophet Noah? I think Prophet Noah, maybe Prophet Musa, but I think Prophet Noah, where he just one day he ate more than he normally does, and he was feeling like a little bit full, and he didn't like that feeling at all. And he said, Allah, that feeling of wanting to worship you has been diminished. It's been decreased because of the amount of food I've eaten. So that's when it was told that then you should not eat more because it will take you away from it will take away your motivation. I'm quoting the lesson, not the actual hadith. But there was a point where the Prophet was in that experience and he thought to himself, I don't even feel like praying anymore. Like, when you're really fully time to pray, oh, but I just ate, I can't do it. You know that feeling? Prophet went through that and he advised against it if you have to pray or to remind yourself what your priorities are. So that feeling you're describing, I think a lot of people have gone through it, Fazil, and it's good to listen to our bodies. It's not even worth it in the end, is it? What were you going to add, Khadija?
I was just gonna add to the Ramadan point that you've not eaten so much, and if you're fasting every day or every other day, your body gets so used to not eating that when you eat lots, it's too much. Like it's almost as if your stomach has shrunk. And also, if you do eat a big meal, it's from another person's point of view, it looks like you're just very, very greedy, and it doesn't look that.
It does look like that, doesn't it? It's like, will this person stop eating, please? Fazil, the last point, then I want to move on to why Imam has actually mentioned this. Go ahead, Fazil.
I don't really have a last point.
Oh, I thought your hand was raised. That's fine. I thought your hand was raised.
Oh, that was from before. I forgot to lower my hand.
Okay, well, here's why the Imam mentions this point to kick us off. He says that often a single meal prevents several meals. It should be several meals, not several meals. One meal stops you having other meals. Now, the immediate example is if you have one big meal, you can't then have lots and lots of smaller things to eat because you've just filled yourself with one thing. And that's quite normal. If you go and there's lots of food in front of you and you have one thing so much because you love it or because you want it, you haven't got space for anything else. That makes sense to us. But this saying he actually said is a phrase they would often use in Arabia to describe when you really, really want something and you're focused so much on one thing that you don't allow yourself to then benefit or appreciate from other things. So let's say you really want a present or a new gift or to go on holiday somewhere or to watch a TV show, and it's on your mind that I want this thing so much. And that's like the meal that you want, the big meal. But from now until then, There could be loads of opportunities from Allah to enjoy, to serve His religion, to be good to your parents, to be kind to the poor. And that's not my priority anymore because I just want that thing. And that phrase was used to say, you are stopping yourself from experiencing other good things because you just want one thing so much. In the same way, if you have this one meal, you just don't want to have any other smaller meals instead of it. It's a really good example, right? So if you are finding yourself when you want something, I really want something so much, it's like a thing in this world. I don't mean like I want to worship Allah, one of those broader themes which open up many doors. No, no, no. I mean when there's like one thing that you just are fixated on, you will find yourself stopping yourself from benefiting from other things on your journey. And Imam uses an example of food to make this point clear because all of us eat food and make that point. Does the moral make sense to all of you that having a single meal prevents having several meals?
Yes.
Alhamdulillah. I really should put an S in there, but it's okay. I think you all get the point. Okay. What is better? Lots of good deeds without knowledge or a few good deeds with knowledge? What do we think? Masma?
Well, I mean, lots of good deeds without knowledge. I mean, well, one of the important things in Islam is to get knowledge, and because if you do loads of good deeds, but you might also do loads of bad deeds because you don't know a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Few good deeds with knowledge, then at least you know things, and then that's good for you because you're learning and learning and learning, and then you have a bright future, and then afterwards that'll lead you to do good things for the world.
That's true. That is true. Knowledge in itself does take you towards ideally better actions. That is true. Khadija, what would you like to add?
I agree with Masuma, but I think that if you have lots of good deeds without knowledge, the good deeds could just be giving zakat, which is a good deed, but you don't know what you're doing and what the value is.
Mm-hmm.
But and with that, you might then pass it on, like say, "Oh, I did this, I did that," and it points out what you did, which is obviously without knowledge and a bit boastful. But if it's a few good deeds with knowledge, it's the good deeds, the few good deeds could be passing on your knowledge and giving zakat without boasting about it, which Allah likes.
Yeah, so the boasting aspect, if you don't know why you're doing it, you will not take advantage of the reward of the action because, like you said, you'll waste it with boasting or disclosing your good deeds. I agree with you. I'd like all of you to think about this in a different way as well. Like go one step further. Often we're told that we have to do lots of good deeds because you get thawab or you get blessing, right? And it's often pictured like you're collecting points. If you look at this balance in front of us, like you're getting all your points you're putting in there, and one's going to weigh down, and then you're going to go to good instead of bad because there's more good points than bad points. Or thawab is like a thing that's been collected. Angels are writing it down. This action has 70 thawab. This action has 50. This action has 1,000. Like I want to do all these actions and collect all of these thawab. And that makes us think sometimes that the more that we do is the better, right? But if you stop for a second, I'm trying to think of what could be an example where it's not about doing more. It's about the quality of the action, not just the quantity. And that's why you might think, well, maybe it's knowledge. Maybe it's the more that I know, like you mentioned, why I'm doing a certain deed. Maybe that's what makes it good. And maybe doing like 100 of one thing without knowing why I'm doing it or who it's for, just for the sake of it, is not as good as doing that one thing, which I really have thought deeply about. So what is better then, quantity or quality? Who has an idea? Fazl, is your hand raised?
Yes.
What do you think?
I think it would be a few good deeds with knowledge, just like what Khadija said. It's like you're doing lots of good deeds, but you don't even know what you're doing. Yeah? So it's like you're boasting about things.
Yeah.
A few good deeds with knowledge, I think that would be better because I also think Imam Ali also said that a few good deeds with knowledge is better than doing lots of good deeds without knowledge. So you don't even know what good deeds you're doing. What if it's like you're doing something good and you don't even know what good things you're doing. So that's why I think like a few good deeds with knowledge would be better than lots of good deeds without knowledge.
Well, this example is a different one, and let's see how the Imam describes it this week. He says there's many a person who fasts, whose fast is nothing but just hunger and thirst. That's all their fast is. They're just hungry and thirsty. And many is an offer of prayers, but their prayer is nothing than just wakefulness and hardship. Meaning all their prayer is waking up at a certain time, like you would do to feed the kids or to go to work, and hardship, like it's hard. Well, we do hard things all the time. Go to the gym and lift heavy things. It's not easy. And the sleep, as well as the eating and drinking of the intelligent one, and the one who knows God, is far better. So interestingly, Allah prefers the sleep of the one who knows him more than the waking up for prayer for the one who doesn't even know him. And Allah prefers the eating and drinking of the one who is knowing God more than the fasting of someone who doesn't know God. And for them, fasting is just not eating and drinking. It's not really about God anymore. And that changes everything, right? That changes a lot of things, because now life is no longer about collecting more and more actions. It's about knowing God more and more. And whatever actions you do, it comes from that knowledge. And if I'm doing less actions, that's part of my journey with God. It's not about doing more. And if you want more proof, look at the language. Think of how many people fast around the world. Some people are probably fasting and the whole priority is just, I don't want to eat, I don't want to drink. Yeah, but what about going close to Allah and thinking about God and being a better person and purifying your soul and stop doing certain sins? These are important things too. But if that's not my priority, then one fast, which was actually for God, seems like so much more valuable than 100 fasts just for the sake of doing it. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, it's no longer about the number anymore. It's about why you're doing these actions, and that changes the need to do so many. For example, in Amal, if it's Laylatul Qadr and everyone's doing many Amal, they're reading this many Salat and that many juz of Quran and this long dua, right? What, are we sitting here going on a checklist, trying to tick every box just for the sake of doing it? Or what if there's one dua, which might not be too long, but I'm really reading it properly and thinking and allowing it to have an effect on me and taking time with it? That approach of that less quantity but more quality is how Ahlul Bayt were. Yes, we have really long du'as from them, but sometimes they'd spend the whole night just saying one verse of Quran or one type of dhikr or a few types of dhikr of adhkar, because that's so much more meaningful in how we are as people. Yeah, there's a comment here from us. I think if a rich person hands a poor person £300 because they feel like it has no meaning, just because they aren't doing it with the right niyyah, that's how, if that's yeah. So good. That money, it's not about the number anymore. So a rich person could give £300 to a poor person and it means nothing to them, just someone's looking on a show off. But you and I could give £1 or £3 to a food drive or to a soup kitchen, and we really are praying for the person who gets it. Well, that's an entirely different amount of rizq. That's an entirely different amount of ni'mah. It's a whole different thing that we're doing, and we can't measure it by the pounds. We've got to measure it by relation to Allah. And that's how you should look at all actions. How close is it to my intention with God? Not how much is it in people's eyes. Is that clear to you guys?
Yep.
Yeah, it's clear.
Any questions or anything? Okay, next thing. Now look at the tip. Look at the balance, which is, why is having knowledge better than having money? So I'm not asking which is better. I think you guys know knowledge is better than money in general. But why? What makes knowledge so much more better for you than having money? Khadija?
Knowledge brings you to the money. You don't just get money because you want the money. There are so many people who want the money and they do earn it, but they don't have the knowledge to get it. They don't, in a way, work hard enough. And without knowledge, you can't get anywhere. It's like a road with the off roads, I guess. Can't really remember what to.
That's okay.
But you're going down the straight path and you're going towards Allah, but if you go off, then you kind of just go and get the money just for the money, and with lots of money, it's just too much. And if you have too much knowledge, that's good, but if you have too much money, it's not good. You get what I mean?
Yeah, it's like Just getting more and more and more, but for what reason? If when it's with money, like what for? Why do we need to keep getting more and more and more? But I guess knowledge helps you realize what to do with it, or know what to do with this thing once you get it, right? It's not just for its own sake, it's for something else. It's for finding out the right thing. If that's the point that I got from what you're saying. But you mentioned more than that. You mentioned some very good points. I'm sure people appreciate it. Fazil, what would you like to add?
Well, I think knowledge is better than money. Is like because knowledge will give you something even better than money.
Mm-hmm.
Like money, but way better than that. The thawab that you get is way better than the money. So it's like, and then like the pen of a soldier is better than the plasma. I don't know why I put that in there, but yes, money is worse than knowledge because the thinking, you're more thinking hard on the thing. Like, but with money, you just have money. What are you going to do with it? Are you thinking hard about money? No. You're thinking hard about, like when you're doing studies, you're thinking hard, you're getting closer to Allah. When you, and the more knowledge you get, well, the money, what's the money going to do to you before you get to get close to Allah? Unless Allah says that if you get more money, you get closer to me, then fine. But Allah doesn't say anything like that. That if you get more money, then you get closer. But when you get knowledge, you get closer.
If anything, the more money you get, the more rights you have to use it for the sake of God. Your duty increases, not your status. And like we mentioned so many times, giving a little is so much valued by Allah. He doesn't look at us in terms of the lens of how much money do you have, or how much money do your parents have, or your family, what kind of car do you drive. That's not how God looks at you. So thanks for making that point. Amina?
It's quite similar to other points, but when you have wealth, you try to hoard it. You try to keep hold of it, and something like knowledge, you can't. There's no. It's something that you want to share, whereas wealth and money is something you wouldn't want to. So, like when knowledge increases and giving it to other people, you're happy to do that, but not with wealth most of the time.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point. The more you have knowledge, the more you want to share it, because ilm has that feature where it should be shared, that others can benefit from and learn from it. Another saying is going to be about that very point. But with wealth, people can hoard it and they can keep it to themselves. People with knowledge sometimes write books. People with knowledge sometimes give lectures. People with knowledge have conversations where they are sharing their opinion of something, and it's good to listen to them. But people who have money don't always use it in charitable ways. They can do, but sometimes they just don't. They just keep it and build for themselves what they want, you know? So you're right. Knowledge inherently should be shared. I should money, to be honest, but unfortunately, people are not quite like that. Imam Ali's with Kumail, his companion, his great companion. He's having a long conversation with him. One of the things he says to him is, "Oh, Kumail, knowledge is better than wealth." And he gives us a couple of reasons why. He says, knowledge guards you while you have to guard the wealth. Wealth decreases by spending, whilst knowledge multiplies by spending. And the results of wealth die as wealth decays. So if you think about this, right? Knowledge guards you while you have to guard wealth. When you have knowledge, it helps you protect yourself, what you have, value what you have. It helps you learn more to protect what is important to you and to pursue what you wish. It serves you. It's like a tool in your hands. It's a weapon. It can be a shield. Knowledge is something which makes you able to do more things, basically. But with wealth, you have to protect the wealth. It won't protect you. You have to keep it safe. You have to hide it. You have to put it in a bank. You have to pay to keep someone to hide it. You have to transfer it into bonds or shares. You have to liquidate your assets and do all sorts of monetary shenanigans just to keep it safe. But with knowledge, that keeps you safe. The more that you know and you have ilm, it helps you to know how to treat yourself and others. But wealth is always there to be taken by someone else. It's not there to be shared if you don't want to. It can be stolen from you. And that's a problem. Also, the more that you spend wealth, the more it increases. This is in our hadith we have found, and in general. The reason why people give khums, 20% of their savings, is because Allah has promised to purify your wealth if you give for His sake. And so the more people give for charity, they find themselves through strange and different ways getting barakah from Allah, getting money from different places because they spent, right? Now, that's if you have knowledge. And that's if you were to give wealth. But if you give wealth sometimes just for its own sake, it will decrease. Nothing will happen. If you had no knowledge about why you're giving money, no knowledge of God, no knowledge of this religion, you're just giving, 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 giving. It's going to, at some point, come to an end and you're going to be broke. But you don't get broke with knowledge. You don't get broke. Either your knowledge makes your wealth increase, or just by spending knowledge, your knowledge increases. Like just by talking, you learn more about something. Some people learn the most by teaching, right? You have teach learners. And for them, to speak and to hear themselves say certain words out loud helps them to internalize those words to remember for an exam or to remember just for yourself. Maybe you're like this, where you're saying it out loud helps you. Maybe teaching helps you. Sharing knowledge increases what you already have. It opens up new avenues because someone listening could add to what you're saying. Just like I mentioned a point, and some of you guys might say, well, this reminds me of this thought. So useful. And the result of wealth dies and it decays. So whatever you actually do buy with wealth or get with wealth, it's material, right? Because wealth is material. And it fades. It doesn't give you happiness which lasts. If you get a building, that building can decay. If you get a car, that car can break down. Even if you have wealth, and people used to have slaves before, but those slaves were never theirs, and they would die, and they would not be go with them to the grave to help them on their journey to God. So their role would be limited, such as their oppression was remains. You know, then the sin which the person has for doing those wrong deeds remains, but the material things itself, these things fade away, and they always will fade away. And that's a good thing to remember when you really, really, really want something material, to remember, hold on a second, this thing's not going to last. It's not going to last forever. So I have no right to be so obsessed with it. It's not fair on me. Let me focus on what's important, what is going to last, like gaining knowledge or acts of worship or acts of kindness and love. Those things are immaterial. They keep going. They are for the soul. But anything for the body is going to be limited. It's going to be limited. Anyone want to add anything to this point?
Well, also, when, like, you buy a souvenir or something, the souvenir is to help you that when you look at it, then you remember the memory. But the memory is from your knowledge because you learned something. Say if you went to school and then you learned something new and then you just got a free pencil from that day or something from a workshop.
Yeah.
Then when you look at that pencil, you remember the memory, but the pencil isn't the memory. You just don't.
I get what you mean. Like the mental image is different to the thing itself, right? What's in your mind and what's actually in front of you, right?
And if you get an achievement, when you look at the trophy, you think
Yeah.
of all the hard work that you put in to get the trophy. You don't think, oh my God, look, this is a nice trophy, if you don't even know what it's for.
Exactly. You remember how much work went into it more than anyone else, right? The trophy just reminds you it's not the thing itself. Exactly. Fazil, anything you'd like to add?
So it's like when you are dead, your knowledge will help you when you're in your grave. Not your money. It's not as if it's like as if your money is gonna tell you do this, do that. Your knowledge is the thing that's gonna help you. And like I don't really remember, one of the imams said that knowledge will help you in your grave.
Yeah, we have hadith like that. We have narrations. We have narration that your ilm will come and protect you when you're coming for questioning from the angels. They will ask, what have you put forward? And that's when your knowledge will become evident that this is what I have done. This is what I have learned during my life. So yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Fazil. Great, guys. Good. So before I was showing you what the balance looks like when it's not been tipped, now you see like what the balance looks like when it is tipped in the favor of one over the other. Next question. Why is it important to ask other people's advice when making a decision? So you got to do something which is tricky. Why ask advice of other people? Why not just decide yourself? What do you think, Amna?
With anything, you need different viewpoints. For example, when you're, even though this is making a decision, when you're angry, you're not in the right state of mind and you can think impulsively to do things. But it's sort of the same when making a decision. You think to just go to one straight thing, but sleeping on something and asking someone else for their advice is quite important.
Very good point. Very good point. Khadija?
Like most people said in the other point, the last point, um, like
Okay.
seeking knowledge by talking to other people is a very important part of Islam. And if like if I if I had to if I had to make a decision to either eat healthy or eat junk, like fast food restaurant junk, I would go first for the junk. But my mum, she would tell me that in the long run, what's that going to do to your health? And it really does help me in the long run.
Yeah. Your mum is wise. Your mum is wise, Khadija. She knows. So it's good to even ask her advice if she doesn't know what you're going through. Something it's a good person just to ask advice for if she's got that experience. She's been through things before, right? It's always good to go to people who have been through something so that because they've experienced what it's like to have to choose between certain options. Maybe what you're going through is not the same. Maybe no, you feel like no one knows what I'm going through. Even if you feel like that, at least hear how other people have dealt with what they were going through, just to know how it is to decide between different options. It'll make you so much better at it in yourself. Fazil, I want you to be next, Fazil. What do you think? Oh, Fazil, I thought that your hand was raised. If anyone else who's maybe not spoken as well, so Arij, Asad, Ashal, if you guys want to chat, you are so free to welcome and mention a point if anything comes to your mind. Masim, I see that you've unmuted. Why do you think it's important to ask advice to other people when you're making a decision?
Well, it's not only if the decision only affects you, but if the decision also affects them. Say if, like, the government, they were going to destroy a park and build like a flat or something like that,
Yeah.
the government would have to ask the community because loads of people use that park for many different things. Like they might gather there to have fun, or they might even gather there to like arrange for work, or they might have like scheduled meetings or something there. And then you have to ask them that should we build these flats or should we keep this, because it affects them as well. And then you can't just decide by yourself and say, all right, we're just gonna can make these people have to cancel their meetings and just destroy this entire place.
A great point. That is a great point. Definitely. Consultation, public consultation, that's what they're called. And these consultations are to get people's opinions about a certain thing. And sometimes, if enough people stand up, the government and decision makers have to sit down and change their mind. If it wasn't actually what was the right thing to do, and we've shown them that's the power of the people. Arich, what do you think?
I think that you should ask other people first because they might have already experienced it and they could help you.
Definitely, definitely. And there's nothing wrong with asking for help, right? There's nothing wrong with asking for help.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a hard decision, as life sometimes does give us, or if it feels hard now. It's really good to ask people's advice. And it's not always easy to ask someone to help you or to admit that you need help. But when you do, they can be of great benefit for your journey, and you can be that person, that voice for someone else who was exactly in your position in a different time in your life. You can look back and say, you know what, I went through that and someone helped me. Let me help you. So thank you for introducing the idea of help, Ali. It's very important. Asad, what do you think?
I think that it's not just your what do you call, like if you do have an opinion,
Mm-hmm.
I'm I'm not exactly sure how to explain it. If you have something, you have a belief, but you're having doubts about it, it is good to ask others about whether or not uh, they think that you're right, or you can ask them if maybe, like, basically asking people for advice is basically the same as asking for help. So if you do need help with something, it is the best thing to do to ask someone else. It's the first thing you should do, actually.
I think you're so right. I think you're so right. Yeah, I really do. Thank you so much. Khadija and Faiza, I know you've got points, but let me quickly go on to the answer. And if your points are still lingering, you can definitely make them, inshallah. Imam Ali alayhi salam says that he who acts, or he could be he or she, who acts solely according to their own opinion gets ruined. And the one who consults other people shares in their understanding. So actually, the stakes of not going to others is being ruined. Maybe you were so sure about something which would have been so destructive to what you actually want that you would have destroyed the very thing you are desiring. You never know, because you're only relying on one opinion. But when you consult others, you can now share in their understanding. And do you know why I like this? It's not just what do you think, it's okay, but why do you think that? What have you gone through something similar? And now you're learning about how they got to that point. You're going through their decision making process. Did they have an experience which helped them to arrive at a certain conclusion? How are they structuring their argument? Why do they think what they think? And now you don't just get what they think, you get what they understand. And then now you understand. So you're not just repeating, saying, well, I'm doing this because that really clever person said. No, you can say, I'm doing this because of this reason. I'll give you an example. If there's a religious issue you're going through, you're not sure what the answer is, maybe you go to a scholar, someone who's researched Islam to help you. But why is this thing halal? What do I do if I've come across this situation or this type of person? You know, whether it's something like music or relationships or giving charity, like wajib charity, or any of these actions would come up, right? What should I do? Now, if the scholar told you the answer, okay, thank you, that's the duty. But if they tell you why, Ahlul Bayt explained this, or the Quran has this verse, and it was revealed because of this example, and so that's why we don't drink alcohol. Okay, now I get it. Like, I get the reason why, and now I share in the understanding which is there for me. That is so much more convincing than relying on my own opinion and trying to figure it out on my own. Especially when there are people around me who know, right, and who I can go to and not lose anything. I can only gain in understanding and not lose in ruin. Fazil, did you still have a point that you wanted to make?
Yes, so what I thought was that what if the decision that I'm making, the other person who's right there is an expert at that thing, the decision that you're making, and then you ask that person, you get the right answer. But what if you make it yourself, and then whatever is happening, it will get ruined, because what if you make a decision and it's like, okay, this is correct, this is wrong, and then the thing can also get ruined. So that's why I should always ask someone else if you think they may even know they may know the answer.
Without a doubt. That is a very good point. A very good point, because there are experts in fields around. You can ask them quite easily. You can find out who's a pro in this issue. Let me just ask them. That's a good point. I think I heard your little sister whispering in the background. Tell her she's most welcome to make any points that she wants to make as well. I don't think younger brother Fasil. They are all welcome, inshallah.
It's my brother.
It's your brother. What's his
His
name?
name is Jawad. He's 3 years old, so I
Is he-
don't
is he
think he can
listening?
even make a point.
Is he listening right now?
No, he's not listening, but yeah, he's just in the kitchen.
Okay, if he's listening, I'll say something like, Jawad, make sure you are being good. You can tell him from me. I'm always easy to send messages to your family, mashallah, Fazil. You are a messenger. Khadija, what are your thoughts based on this answer? What do you think?
Again, I think Amina said this in another question, that if you give a child or anyone a book with no, like if you give the community Quran without giving them Ahl al-Bayt, the teacher, then they don't understand. But with the Ahl al-Bayt, they get things from another perspective and um, gather more knowledge about the situation.
I agree, because then you're building up your knowledge in yourself as part of your own development, for sure. I'm just looking at the time to see that we have to get to the last one. But like Masma very aptly concludes, you won't lose anything by asking questions. If you found out you only have 1 day to live, what would you do? Masma?
Well, I would do as many good deeds as I could, and I would say goodbye to everybody else, everybody I know, no matter how confused they would be. But I would just, try to make the most of it while also trying to, make my, afterlife better. Like, I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, so good deeds and was it family and friends, right?
Yep.
Erich? Erich, I think your hand is raised. What would you do? We can come back to you if you like. Khadija, what would you do?
I'd do everything that Master said, but I would also try and patch up my relationships. Like if I had had any enemies from even when I was maybe very little to the recent time, I'd try and make sure that any there wasn't any still bad feelings between me and the person, and I'd also try and pray to Allah that I have a good journey into the afterlife.
Inshallah. Very good. Fazil, what would you do?
Well, I would just do that. I would just keep on worshiping before I die, so that I get the best of it from the day of judgment.
Good. So you're collecting provision for akhirah.
Yeah.
Good. Amina, what would you do?
So obviously I'd want to leave on good relations with everyone, so ask for people's forgiveness, but also try to pay off any of my debts. And if I had money, obviously I try to give it to my ancestors, but I'd want to give it all to charity so that I'm not accountable to Allah.
So that's a very good, fresh idea, mashallah, to distribute the wealth in a fair way and in a way that clears your debt, for example, with God, let alone your debt with people as well. Asad, I know your hands not raised, but I'm going to ask everyone, what would you do if you were told you had one more day to live? How would you spend it? Don't say playing Pokemon.
Well, that would definitely be one thing I would do. But honestly, I'm not really sure. Probably, I'm not sure. I'm not
Okay,
sure what I would do if I had one day to live. That's something I would actually sort of. I'm not sure really what I would do if I had only one day to live.
that's fine, but do think about it, okay? Ashal, what would you do? Ashal, you still there? Khadija, you spoke at Masma, what would you do?
I already made my point.
Oh, you did. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. Alij's hand raised. My apologies. Alij, sorry. Is there anything that you think you would do if you were told you had one day to live? The hand is raised, but maybe she's not there.
I would like worship Allah a lot so that I can go to paradise.
Worship Allah. Good. Any worship maybe you've not done or we can do more of. It's a good time. Definitely a good time if you've got one day. Like you might as well, right? Good. Ashal?
Sorry, I just had to go. I just came back from the toilet.
That's fine. What would you do?
I would like worship Allah until until I die, because that's all I care about. I don't care about anything else but like Allah, reading the Quran and namaz and everything. That's all I would care about if I had one day to live.
Interesting. So, thank you, Ashal. If I combine everything you've mentioned, worshipping Allah, giving your wealth to charity, being good to people around you, mending relations, being good to your family and your friends, for example, thinking of your akhirah, and many good things, and many things that we can do right now. And it seems like the only thing which is stopping us from prioritizing those things now is, well, I have got life on this earth and loads of other things to do, and these really important things, I don't have to focus on them just right now. But two things. First of all, we never know when we're going to die, and so we would regret not doing these things if today actually was my last day, right? You never know when Allah will take someone away. It's not up to us. But more than that, why are we not doing those things now if we know that they give us true happiness? And I don't mean happiness where like this thing, that thing. I mean like the really important things which are really important to you, which fulfill you, are what you guys mentioned. Your relationship with Allah Azza wa Jal, and how you treat people based on that. Why am I not doing that now? Who says that I don't have one day? And even if I have one day, this whole world is like just one day. It's tiny. And that's what the Imam says. He says this world is a place for transit. It's not a place to stay. Meaning it's not like you're going to be here forever. You're only here for a quick minute, just like that. So I might as well do the most important things in this transit. Now, there are two types of people who are in this category. And think to yourself now, which one you're in. They're the ones who sold away their self to their passions, and so they ruined it. Meaning, they just did whatever their desires, like eat, drink, um, sleep, play. Like those things were most important to them. So they sold themselves just to whatever their passions was telling them to do. And then there are some people who didn't sell themselves; they purchased themselves by controlling against these passions, and they freed them. They freed it and they freed themselves, where they're no longer living a life just for other people or for other things and other desires. They're living a life which is free. And the highest level of freedom is that they have no longer doing and following their passions. They found something more important to follow, like their minds, like Allah, like their hearts, like those really great stuff which we're talking about. And all of us, me and you, are in this world in transit. Like we're just passing through one place to another place, and we're just here, and we get to choose, what kind of deal do I make with God in this one day that I've got? Now, this one day might last for 50 years, but it's really a day in the grand scheme of things. So how am I spending it? Am I spending it by selling myself to my passions, or am I spending it by purchasing myself from my passions? It's just on the way to another place, a more permanent place. Do I care about the destination where I'm actually going? Is it a priority? Masma says it's like stopping on a train station. It is. And the stop I'm in now is not where I'm getting off. So why am I not prioritizing getting to the next part of the journey in the best possible way? Why am I spending all this time thinking I'm going to be in this transit forever? I'm not. So you know that when you're thinking, what if it was my last day, how would I act? That's how we should be acting right now. That kind of mentality, because it is in many ways our last opportunity, our only opportunity, our one opportunity to show God who we really are. And inshallah, in that journey, I hope that you have found good provision and good tools to take with you from Nahjal Balagha in these sayings. No more next week, unfortunately. And thank you. So those are the last 5 of the sayings. Now, next week, I hope guys, inshallah, you appreciated and you learned from them. Next week, we are looking at a Kahoots quiz of some of our favorite sayings that we've been looking at in this series. And I'm gonna ask you for any questions you have in general that have come up over the period of time. Please bring them any questions. So, for example, go through, if you wish, the videos of these recordings and look at all of the sayings that we have. Have you all subscribed to the YouTube channel? Have you all subscribed? So you can see all the videos of the Nahjal Balagha Book Club. Who's not yet subscribed?
I think my mum has, and my sisters have.
So that's sweet, but that is not good enough, because that's where we have 9, including today's sessions. Yeah. So I'm going to put a link now, and I'd like you guys to, if you have time, go through kind of go through those videos of the previous sessions and have a look at the different sayings. And if you have any questions of anything that's been raised, you can always bring it. But it's going to be a quiz on the sayings, and I hope you guys enjoy, which will bring together all of the different wisdom we've learned from Nahjal Balagha in a Kahoots quiz, inshallah. And that's the last time for you to have any questions about what we've discussed. It's a space for you to ask any questions or discuss any issues that are important to you. And if we do one more in the future, it'll be good to know what direction to take it and how to do it. So subscribe to the channel, check out the videos. I will see you next week, inshallah, where we'll discuss and bring together all of the sayings and arguments and ideas from Nahjal Balagha we've looked at in this book club. Any last questions? Well, okay, then that's it. Take care, everyone. Have a good evening, and I will see you next week for the last session of the Nahjal Balagha Book Club. مع السلامة. خدا حافظ في أمان الله.
Prophet.
جزاك الله خير.
Hafiz.
خدا حافظ.
Hafiz.
حافظ. Bye bye.
بولايتك يا علي